Welcome to the Advanced Menu Styling and Layout tutorial video for Mega Menu. We're going to cover quite a few topics in this video, so let's get into it. First, we're going to look at layout and position. So I'm going to put the page into edit mode and edit the block. Under layout, we have position. There are several settings here. It gives you some advice with the tooltip. Got three options: relative, which is the default option, and usually that's recommended, and it depends on where your block is placed within your theme and what your theme has as far as an editable area. The other two options are fixed and sticky, and that only works properly if your theme supports it. If you're using one based on Atomic, which is a default theme with Concrete CMS, then it should support it. It does have some additional information here about this. So theme designers can adjust their theme to be able to support sticky and fixed positioning. Just keep in mind that if you do apply this option, it's best to set a background color. So if your theme doesn't set a background color for you in that area, you probably should do it yourself from the color tab. And we'll go over here to color, block background, and apply a manual color. In this case, I've gone with light gray. We can see what that looks like. There we go, got light gray, and the fixed or stickiness is only noticeable once you get out of edit mode. There you go. You can see as you scroll down, the menu area stays in the same position. I'm going to leave the background color there because that will be useful in the next section we look at. Okay, next let's have a look at advanced and then layout. And the option I want to focus on is restrict overall menu width. Now you'll notice for this particular page, this page is in the Atomic theme. The content goes from one side to the other, but width is determined by the theme. Now you may want Mega Menu to line up on the left and the right so that it looks a little more neater. In that case, that checkbox does it for you, restrict overall menu width. If I turn that off, you can see what happens. Now I'm no longer restricting it, and the Mega Menu stretches all the way to the very end. It uses up all the available space. On this particular topic, there's another field next to this one called Restrict Drop-Down Full Screen. We enable that. What this does is that it limits the width of content within auto Mega Menus. I'll show you what that looks like. So we have it under Extended Menu. We have a page called Organization. That's an auto Mega Menu. At the moment, it's got 3 columns. Let's make that up to 6. And instead of leaving the width auto, we're going to go for the full width. Actually, let's go full screen. And there you go. This is an example of how that looks. So I've made the drop down full width, so it goes to the very edge of the page. However, the content within that drop down is limited to the same kind of width as the rest of the content on the page. This is an optional kind of style. Some people like that. I think I've noticed it on a couple of larger corporate websites. It keeps the content focused within a certain width, but still the drop down takes up the entire width of the page. So it's a clever formatting trick. All right, we'll head back over to the Advanced tab and Layout. There are 3 fields for horizontal gap, vertical gap, and internal padding. We'll look at the internal padding first. This is the gap around the outside of the entire menu. So the easiest way to see what that looks like is I'm going to change that to 0. When we save it, you'll see all the edge disappears and the elements touch the very, very edge of that area of the block. Looks a little bit crammed and a little bit ugly in my opinion, so that's why you have flexibility. It's hard to tell how the Mega Menu is going to look in various different themes. So I've tried to add some of these fields that will allow you to have a bit more design control. So if you want to make it even more spacious, you can make the number a lot bigger. So if I go 1.5, this is in REM. REM is based on the root font size for the whole page. There we go. You can see the gap around the outside is a little bigger. The other 2 fields you saw there, the horizontal and vertical gap apply to the main elements within Mega Menu. Just to recap, number 1 here is the logo image. Number 2 and 3 are the nav menu. Number 4 is the extras. And number 5 is the info bar. So in between each of those elements, that is where we can control this gap, the horizontal and the vertical. If we want a more horizontal gap in between those elements, we can make that number a little bit bigger. And you'll see that pushes out between some of those elements on the page. I can also change the vertical gap if I wanted to. Okay, now we're going to look at language direction. So if we go to the block again, head to layout, scroll down to text alignment. We have two fields here. The text alignment is how the text is aligned left to right, if you want it to be left-centered or right. If you choose default, then it's going to apply whatever the browser decides. And depending on the user's language settings within their browser, it can either be left for most typical languages and right if it's something like Arabic. Then you've also got the language direction. This is specifically if you know the kind of language that your menu is going to be in. You can specifically choose. By default, it won't decide for you. But if you choose right to left, then Mega Menu has deep integration and support for right to left languages. So when I change that, you're going to see what happens. The entire menu flips over to the other side. See, everything has been flipped. Drop downs all change. The alignment of the drop downs change. The caret little icon there changes. Even the hamburger menu moves to the opposite side. So everything within the Mega Menu is fully supporting the right to left language. Click on the hamburger, you'll see that even the arrows are pointing in the opposite direction. So everything there is completely mirror image. Now this is only applying to the Mega Menu. If I reverse this process, the other way you might be able to handle this is rather than doing it at a block level, you can do it for your entire page. I'll leave that as default. Now, when I exit edit mode, I'm going to write in a little bit of code on the fly, and you can see what happens. I head up to the HTML tag at the top and type in dir equals RTL. That's direction equals right to left. Then you see everything flips over. And this is the most common way of handling right to left languages. You put it straight into your theme. And in that way, Mega Menu will respect that. It'll detect it and respect that, ensures all the elements are in the correct position, in the correct order. With all the padding, everything that has been done before from a left to right perspective is automatically handled. It took a long while to get all that working just the way it should. But the important thing is that you can easily handle any kind of language with Mega Menu, whatever language you're putting into your website. The other place where this is relevant is with the hamburger. This is why we have the wording for side as start and end, because in a world where we handle both left to right and right to left languages, there is no really left and right in terms of design. Instead, we have a start and an end. So for left to right languages, start means left. For right to left languages, start means right. So it's important to be able to tell the difference and understand the terminology. Okay, now we're going to switch gears and head over to color, and we're going to look at custom skins. So we look at the skin type, custom. We touched on this before, but I'll go into a bit more detail about how this works. So first of all, we've got here a template to help you get started. So you're not starting completely from scratch. And this is fairly unformatted. There's only basic positioning and width applied to some of these elements. If you're familiar with CSS, you can put it into your favorite editor, such as BB Edit or VS Code, and make whatever changes you want to it. This gives you full control. The upside of it is that you have 100% control. The downside is that if there are any new features that are added to Mega Menu in future versions, then you might have to make some adjustments to your CSS in order to support that. If you're choosing one of the other built-in modern skins, then each time Mega Menu is updated, they're going to be also updated to handle the new features. Now, if you wanted to make an adjustment to modern skin, there are two ways you can go about it. There's this drop-down button, Customize Selected Skin. Okay, so you can either extend skin's CSS or you can copy it. A copy takes a snapshot of how it looks right here and now, and then puts it into the custom editor that we just saw before. So now I've got all of the details from transparent sky in here that I can now change any way I like. It requires a decent amount of CSS knowledge in order to know what to do. The important thing here is that it's using the .custom skin selector. So while you've got custom skin activated, that's how you know you're going to get that working. If you wanted to change the color hue, some of the saturation, there are some variables there. And then further down, much further down, here we put those colors into use. So for links, the link color is set here. The hover background, the color is set, and so forth. If you're familiar with CSS, this will make sense too. Custom CSS also needs to be able to handle dark mode. So if you are doing customizations, and keep that in mind if you want to support dark mode. Now, the other way of handling customizations is closer to what WordPress considers a child theme, is that you take the existing code that is there and then just extend it a little bit further. The benefit of this is that if there's any changes to the modern skin, such as transparent sky, in a new version of Mega Menu, you won't lose anything. You won't have to change anything as well. You just tweak the little bits that you want to. So for example, if I type in a selector and I wanted to perhaps add a border like that, I can do that. And it's just basically taking everything that's already in transparent sky and then adding my extra bit. So this also makes it much easier to manage. So you're only seeing in here, this block of code, only your changes. And generally speaking, for most people, it might just be 3 or 4 lines of code, maybe 10, but it's much simpler than having to copy and duplicate the entire skin. Keep in mind that the Extend Skin CSS feature only works within the scope of Mega Menu. It will not allow you to change anything outside of it to prevent clashes. If you did want to make change to CSS code outside of Mega Menu, the best place to do that is from the Advanced tab, but we'll cover that in the next video. And there you have it. That's the Advanced Menu Styling and Layout video. Thank you very much for watching. Keep an eye out for the next video, which is about advanced functionality and optimization.